To the regular meeting. 2.01, call to order, please. 2.02, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. 2.03, adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda for May 22nd, 2024, regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be adopted as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3 is recognition. 3.01, recognition of SEM 2023-2024 retirees, Dr. Stevens and Mr. Laban.
Thank you, President Parks. We have a group of retirees with us this evening that Mr. Laban will recognize individually, but I just really quickly wanted to say, first of all, thank you for the years of service you've provided at School City of Mishawaka. And I really have just 2 simple points I'd like to make to these individuals as you wrap up your time with us. Number 1, you've made a difference during your time at School City. I don't think anybody can argue with that. And number 2, your work is appreciated. So thank you so much for those, the time that you've given us of your life dedicated to the service here with our students. And with that, I'll let Mr. Laban dig in a little bit deeper with you.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. I'm going to recognize several of our retirees who were unable to join us this evening, but want to certainly recognize them by name and acknowledge their role in the number of years of service to our corporation. Starting first and foremost with Mrs. Zoe Aerosmith, 32 years, food service at Mishawaka High School. Mr. Brian Campbell, 27 years, maintenance for the operations department. Danny Joe Carper, 5 years, teacher at LaSalle Elementary School. Ms. Kathy Eby, 29 years, music teacher at John Young Middle School. Mr. Steve Hickman, 34 years, physical education teacher at Twin Branch Elementary School. Lana Howard, 30 years of graphics art specialist here at the Administration Center. Mr. Jeff Kindig, 10 years, custodian at Battelle Elementary School. Ms. Ann Jagla, 5.5 years, fax teacher at Mishawaka High School. And Mr. Pete Schmidt, 1 year, social studies teacher at John Young Middle School. We also have 3 of our retirees who are with us and able to join us that I'd like to say a few words about this evening, starting with Ms. Ann Pettit, 25 years, here at the Administration Center. Ann was first hired in Mishawaka in 1999 as a first grade teacher's aide. And I'm going to borrow some of the words that she shared with us when she announced her retirement to us, that she had no idea that when she was hired in 1999, she was starting her lifelong career. She has shared that she is most proud of her 20 years of service when she worked in the buildings, serving and caring for the staff, the students, and the families. And in a sentiment that I feel it really sums up her many wonderful years of service to here at Mishawaka, she shared that while she was born and raised in Elkhart, because of this job, Mishawaka has become her home. So I know I speak for the entire Administration Center that it certainly won't be the same without you, Ann. However, I'm confident and I'm hopeful that Ann will be a friendly and familiar face to all of us here. I was already trying to recruit her into doing different jobs for us just a couple of minutes ago, so I'm confident we'll see her around there for many years to come. So Ann, thank you very much and congratulations. Next this evening, we have Mrs. Shelley Sparrow, 33 years, Project Lead the Way teacher or STEM teacher at Liberty Elementary School. Mrs. Sparrow was hired in 1991 and will retire here in just 7 short days. She's not that she's counting or anything. Again, after 33 wonderful years of service to the corporation. Mrs. Sparrow is an award-winning educator and has impacted hundreds of Mishawaka students and staff over her tenure. She has shaped and been a staple in advancing School City of Mishawaka's commitment towards STEM education and has even managed to raise some chickens and some cockroaches along the way. So while I'm hopeful that she takes the roaches with her, I'm certain that she's going to leave a lasting legacy here in Mishawaka. So Shelley, congratulations and thank you. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Tim Sparrow. Tim was hired back in November of 2018 and will also retire here at the end of the school year alongside his wife. Tim has served as a custodian at Liberty and has truly made a positive impact on his entire school family. I gathered some feedback from his peers and colleagues that he served with at Liberty, and they share that Tim is very dependable, he's hardworking, and that he's always willing to jump in and to help no matter what it takes. I think that is precisely the mentality that has made him such an asset to Mishawaka. And I think it's also that mentality that will keep him in a good standing with Shelley as they both enjoy and move into their retirement as well. So, Tim, thank you, and also congratulations. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. We need to approve the personnel report. Oh, no, we're not at it. Sorry. So I would like to say thank you, Ann. Ann became our board secretary and has done a fabulous job, and so we appreciate you, and we will miss you, and hopefully you will stay in touch with us. And to Shelley and Tim, well, to Shelley first. Shelley has been a part of Parks life for many, many years, and I appreciate who she is. She's been a fabulous teacher, and she has given my children great growth. And I've known Tim as long as I've known Shelley, but just not in an education standpoint, but always very kind, always very gracious, and an incredible human as well. So we will miss you, and congratulations on your new adventures. All right, moving on. Well, if you would like to go, I will let you. Or you can stay. Thank you both.
No, Ann has to stay.
Ann has to stay. Yes. And there are seats. There you go.
Front row.
Front row. 3.02, School City of Mishawaka 2024 Secondary Teacher of the Year, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, President Parks. As you know, School City of Mishawaka follows the model adopted by the Indiana Department of Education in recognizing an elementary and secondary teacher of the year. They will then be in contention for the state of Indiana Teacher of the Year. Both of the teachers are highly involved in their respective schools and were admired by their peers for their dedication to the profession. And tonight we want to honor one single employee because, as you may recall, Mr. Michael Buckman, our secondary teacher of the year, was busy coaching at the meeting we had at Mishawaka High School. So tonight we're going to invite Mr. Buckman, the ceramics teacher at Mishawaka High School, an opportunity to come up and address the group. Congratulations, Mr. Buckman.
Esteemed colleagues, school board members, and administrators in attendance, I'd like to start by saying thank you. This is a tremendous honor, and it's, the pinnacle of what you want to be as a teacher. When I think of my predecessors in this award, some close friends like Abby Bill, Ryan Sargent, Robin Fuda, some of my good friends right here in this room still. There's more of them in here that have been teachers of the year, and including the elementary teacher of the year, Carrie Belting, who's one of my really good friends. I feel like I'm keeping some pretty good company, and I feel lifted by being considered in the ranks. When I consider my years as a teacher and becoming teacher of the year through tragedies and triumphs endured, my mind takes a unexpected turn. The subtle little letdowns and the failures and that one student that slipped away come to mind sometimes. The heartbreak of lives lost or miscommunications or just not reaching that one kid that you could have. In truth, I would bet most teachers here that have won the Teacher of the Year think, what could I have done better? Maybe that's one of the plateaus of veteran teaching, which I think I can claim now since I've been around here for more than 20 years, and one that must be reached to get to a good place in the classroom. With that in mind, anytime a stakeholder or a colleague praises me, I tell them I'm luckier than I am good. And not that I luck out with kids. I don't think that. And they just thrive. But that I feel lucky to have been made this way. So kids want to learn from me and I can reach them. I would like to quickly recall the time period and wrap up pretty quick after, because most speeches that are any good are marked by their brevity. I can clearly remember my parents being pretty scared about how sad I was as a 9th and 10th grade caveman. I think some amazing teachers pulled me out of that, and I believe that is why I conduct myself as a teacher the way I do. And I'm always kind of thinking, I just might be out there in my classroom, in waiting to be supported and saved. By support, I mean I have a fun atmosphere filled with kindness and love, but also to have boundaries, to be resolute with them and show them, an adult, they can like and respect for kindness and integrity. To close, my family's always been an important part of my improvement and success as a teacher and a coach. My brother is always out there in real life or online praising and defending me over various things. My sister is always sitting along praising kudos, and my sister-in-law is my second floor partner at putting a stop to some of the stuff that goes on at the high school. We're always arm in arm and helping each other in the ruckus, and she always treats me like a worthy peer. And my mom and dad, who I lost before I was 40, left lasting, transcendent messages. My mom always encouraged me to have a great time with my students, and she was a fun lady. And my dad, who was a much more serious person, always reminded me, that kid in your classroom is someone's child, and don't forget that. I'd be remiss in not thanking my mother and father-in-law for filling in as surrogates immediately after I lost my parents. I feel really blessed to have them in my life, a nurse and a teacher. It's no surprise they filled in seamlessly. I am most thankful for how my kids and wife bolster my teacher and coach life. My 18-year-old daughter, who graduates in just 2 weeks, never acts ashamed to know me on campus and makes us look pretty good as parents. My 13-year-old Cooper has helped to remind me that the super smart kids can love art and having fun at school too. And my 8-year-old Benny keeps me current on social and cultural literacy and to embrace kids in class that have a laid-back approach. Finally, I have to give special thanks to my fiercest ally, my best friend, the love of my life, Shannon. I know teaching and coaching has made your September birthday subpar every year, and you can't have brief public appearances ever. For that, I'm sorry. But I love that you always stand up for teachers, football coaches, and for the arts, and I couldn't have fill in the blank without you. Thank you so much.
I was trying to grab you, Mr. Buckman. If you don't mind, come back up there to that podium. We have a friend from the Mishawaka Lions Club, Mr. Dave Eisen. If you don't mind, I'll invite him to the podium. He has something I think he'd like to say and something he'd like to bestow upon you. Is that correct, sir? All right.
Fantastic.
And then we may want to take a picture here. So.
Oh. You'll want to just get me out of here then.
Then she'll kick you out.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
excellent.
Maybe I'll make you stay.
Detention already. Hi there.
Well, if it's true as he says that short speeches are better than long ones, I win. But on behalf of the Mishawaka Lions Club, we'd like to present you with this check for $500
Wow, thank you.
for your use in class and, or a couple extra root beer floats, whatever. But,
Where you can get those.
thank you for all your years of effort, and I'm sure there's a lot of students who are very appreciative of everything you've done for them. So
Well, thank you for
congratulations.
supporting our community and our kids.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it.
Congratulations. Well deserved. All right, moving on. Comments, would you like to lead?
Yeah, I gotta feed my kids.
Okay.
Absolutely the best.
All right, 4 comments and questions from the floor. 4.01, representatives of the Mishawaka Parent Group. 4.02, representatives of the school employees. I don't see Amy. 4.03, representatives of the Mishawaka Education Foundation. No Jane?
No.
Or a backup?
No.
Okay. 4.04 is general public, and no one has signed up to speak. So moving on to consent agenda. 5.01, approval of the minutes of the May 8, 2024 board meeting. It is recommended that the minutes of the May 8, 2024 board meeting be approved as presented. 5.02, approval of the minutes of the May 14, 2024 executive board meeting. It is recommended that the minutes of the May 14, 2024 executive board meeting be approved as presented. 5.3, approval of bill warrants and payroll. It is recommended that the board approve payments of bill warrants and payroll in the amount of $3,563,702.95 from the appropriate funds. 5.04, approval of donations. It is recommended that the board approve the donations as listed and documented. 5.05, approval of donations from the Irons Foundation. It is recommended that the board approve the donations as listed and documented. 5.06, approval of the February and March 2024 financial reports. It is recommended that the board approve the February and March 2024 financial reports as presented. 5.07, St. Joe Health Systems Contract Amendment Number 5 for summer school nursing services. It is recommended that the school board approve the SJHS Contract Amendment Number 5 as presented. 5.08, approval of the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Pause there momentarily.
Pause.
Thank you, President Parks. Sorry to interrupt you there. And thank you to the Board of School Trustees. You just approved item number 5.05, the donation from the Irons Foundation. That's a donation from Tom Irons, a 1969 graduate, of $100,000. I see Victoria is here. Are you wanting to speak on behalf of that donation, or are you just here in support of that? It's up to you. If you'd like to speak, we'd certainly give you a moment to say something.
Didn't come prepared, but I...
Well, it's a significant donation worthy of
It's the same one.
of you saying something if you so desire.
Well, let me tell you how I ended up with this. Tom has been very involved with the sports, as all of you know. And in talking, I said, you know, Tom, there's no one that loves sports any more than I do. And I said, but you know, coming from a mother that taught in the school system, you know, education is so important and the needs that's being faced. And I said, you know, could you share a little bit of that money? So we're having lunch, and he said, well, what are you thinking? And I said, well, it's the 100th anniversary of Mishawaka High School, and wouldn't it be great if we could do $100,000, 50 for sports and 50 for education? And Tom said, okay, go for it. Well, what an adventure it's been. And to see the needs of what's out there for our high school was incredible. I had over $140,000 requested. And you talk about trying to do the fishes and the loaves, as Chad knew, they were coming in. You know, every month I'm sending out a reminder, don't forget, you know. They had never been exposed to the option of grants. So this was very exciting for them, and we were very pleased to be able to get 24 microscopes. In fact, they were delivered today for the science department. Those microscopes they've been using are over 14 years old. The cords are frayed, the slides, it was incredible when I read that request, and I thought, how can we nurture students to go forward in a science if we can't provide them with equipment? So we managed to get them 24 microscopes. There was just so many things that we went through. Caleb said, you know, my music stands are being held together with duct tape. And I'm thinking, you know, what a great musical programs we have, our band, our orchestra, how great. And we're looking like a rummage haul. So we got Caleb his 100 music stands. But the list goes on and on and on. The new policy for Indiana is no cell phones next year. What's photography going to do? The kids use their cell phones. So here we are. I'm sitting there and I'm like, we need microscopes. We need, my husband's saying, boy, oh boy, he said, you know, I said, well, you stop and you look at all these needs. It's just incredible, and how wonderful and how appreciative the teachers are. I went back and I said, okay, I have your request. You know, we have two options, maybe something or a no. And they go, I would take one microscope. So it was really to see how much the appreciative of what Tom's doing, and Tom's delighted to have his support. But so I've been thrilled to be involved, and I look forward to hopefully next year coming back with an educational grant. I'm working on it, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Parks, for letting me interrupt. And I just want to point out as well, certainly we're appreciative of the 5.05 donation from Tom Irons, but we're appreciative also of all those donations in 5.04. Any donation made on behalf of School City is greatly appreciated. However, the amount of that donation from Tom Irons is significant. So thank you. And if that, President Parks, I'll turn it back over to you. Apologize for interrupting.
6, reports and discussion items. 6.01, excessive education to operations fund transfer list, calendar 2023. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. As you know, on April 10th, we accepted the excessive transfer notice from the Department of Education and DUAB, the Stress Unit Board, of 18.2 for the calendar year 2023. We had to accept it we received it on March 26th. We accepted it at the April 10th board meeting, but we have to respond to that to both entities as to how we're going to fix it. Did we realize we were there? So I have typed up the response. I can provide you with a copy of it. It's going to be mailed to them tomorrow, stating that, yes, we realized we were over 18%, and we're addressing it this next year, trying to live within the 15%. But I'm also giving them supporting documentation that I'm not guaranteeing it. Here's the circuit breaker reports. When you give us $3 million and you take $2 million of it back, it makes it a challenge. So until they address that, we're probably going to live there. But I'm trying not to be there. So all that will be mailed to them tomorrow within the 90-day period, and we'll see what they say after that, whether we have to go down and see them in person.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. 6.02, March financial statements and monthly comparison. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. We're going to go as of March 31st, as we're still working on closing up April. The education fund is approximately 25% revenue, 25% expenditures, so it's on track for the quarter. So that looks to be in fine shape. When we go to the referendum operating, it has over $1.5 million in it. But as we know, later on, I'm asking for additional appropriations to spend money that was not spent last year. Debt service, there was no activity as no payments are due until June, so it's riding at a balance of $516,602. Referendum debt, same thing, no activity at $135,272. Operations is in the red at $658,862, but there is a resolution I'm going to ask for approval to transfer from the rainy day fund, as we're no longer allowed by the state to have a negative balance in a non-reimbursable fund. Still, we will reimburse back to the rainy day fund after tax receipts are received in June. The rainy day grew by its interest earned, so it's at $2,916,250 at the moment. School lunch is sitting at a nice balance of $1,471,443, but we do have plans for that, so it's just slowly growing. And then curriculum material is still on its own at $1,098,240, but as they've postponed the transfer of that into the ed fund until January 1 of 2025, so it will be on its own until then, but we need to be cognizant of using it wisely, as it is not going to grow as it normally did before, because we are no longer allowed to charge parents. And the self-insurance fund is at $1,478,000, so it is in healthy shape to continue through the year. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are you going to
Yep.
speak about the comparisons?
Oh, sorry, it wasn't in my packet.
Sorry.
I didn't print it. We are actually down a little bit from last month, but still running at a 21,634. So the Medicaid keeps growing due to its monthly contributions. So everything's pretty much the same. We're using some of that Medicaid money to pay for some special education expenditures to help the ed fund out.
Okay. Are there any questions? All right, thank you. 7, Human Resources, 7.01, Personnel Report. Mr. Laban.
Thank you, President Parks, members of the board. This evening, we're recommending the appointment of just one extra duty assignment. However, as mentioned earlier, we have several administrative transfers reflected on this evening's personnel report, 2 of which I'd like to speak to for a few moments. The first is the transfer of Mrs. Rebecca Cummings to principal of John Young Middle School, beginning with the 2024-25 school year. Mrs. Cummings is currently finishing her 5th year as principal at Liberty Elementary School, but came to Mishawaka back in 2019 after having served 7 years as an assistant principal with John Glenn Community Schools, and then 2 years as an assistant principal at South Bend Community Schools before that. Since her time at Liberty, Mrs. Cummings has demonstrated a commitment to high expectations for her students, her staff, and her families, both in and out of the classroom. And she has exemplified exceptional instructional leadership, raising test scores and improving overall culture and climate at Liberty. Serving along a new administrative team of Mrs. Jen Fisher as associate principal, and both Mr. Brandon Turton and Mr. Sean Steinkellner as assistant principals, Mrs. Cummings is the right person for this moment to lead John Young into the future. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Mr. Mike Fisher for his many years of service and leadership at John Young, and who could not be more excited to be going back to the high school for the 100th year. So congratulations to you both. Next, I'd like to recognize and make the recommendation to transfer Mrs. Kristen Wells, current assistant principal at Mishawaka High School, to the principal of Liberty Elementary School, again beginning with the 24-25 school year. Mrs. Wells is finishing her 2nd year at Mishawaka High School, but prior to coming to School City in 2022, Kristen taught Spanish for 7 years at Mishawaka Marian High School, Zionsville West Middle School, and Homestead High School before moving into the role of assistant principal at Northridge High School, where she served for 5 years. While she may be a newer face to Mishawaka's leadership teams, Kristen is ambitious, she is focused, and alongside Assistant Principal Mrs. Ashley Litwin, Kristen will serve and support the Liberty School community very well for many years to come. So pending your vote this evening, please allow me to be the first to publicly congratulate Principal Wells on this well-deserved opportunity and to wish her the very best in this upcoming chapter here at Mishawaka. Following the board vote this evening, I would like to invite both Mrs. Cummings and Mrs. Wells to the podium in that order to share a few remarks and introduce their guests. And always happy to answer any questions that the board may have, but if not, it's my privilege to recommend the board of school trustees approve of the personnel report dated May 22nd, 2024, as presented.
Move for approval.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Which one? Don't rush it.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I think he said it in order.
Yeah, she's crying, so you go first.
That is not how it was presented. Good evening, Dr. Stevens, President Parks, and board members. Thank you. I'm excited. To say I'm excited would be not saying enough about this move to John Young Middle School. I look forward to continuing the great work that Mr. Fisher has been doing. My time at Liberty has been incredibly rewarding and meaningful to me. Over the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside so many amazing, dedicated, talented teachers and staff. I will miss them all. I will miss my littles, but I am thrilled to move back into working with 7th and 8th grade. That's where I got my start and spent 8 or 9 of my first years in education, and I loved it. And I think it's one of those things that it takes a special person, and I hope that I am that person. I look forward to seeing all the great things that Mrs. Wells and Ms. Litwin are going to do at Liberty, and again, I thank you all for this opportunity.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's funny.
Congratulations. Ms. Wells?
Sorry, Rebecca, I had to get my tears out of the way for a second because it just hit me in that moment. Good evening, Dr. Stevens, President Parks, and members of the board. I'm deeply honored to stand before you today as the newly appointed principal of Liberty Elementary. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for entrusting me with this incredible opportunity to lead and serve at the school city of Mishawaka. First and foremost, thank each of you for your support and confidence in my ability to fulfill this role. I love working for School City, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to learn from you all. I'm grateful for the leadership at Mishawaka High School who has pushed me to go for this position and cheered me on, including the elementary principals who've already been so supportive and welcoming. I will truly miss working at Mishawaka High School, but I know that I'll stay in touch with many of the people that I've met. Together with our talented teachers, supportive staff, and engaged parents, I'm confident that we can continue the efforts that Mrs. Cummings has already put in place with Mrs. Fisher and continue the school culture at Liberty that fosters a love for learning and encourages every student to reach their full potential. I believe that every child deserves a nurturing and engaging environment where they can thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. Having the opportunity to work with the faculty and staff at Liberty to achieve this environment is an honor, and I'm excited to lead the team as it moves together toward that goal. I would also like to thank my amazing husband, Matt, who's here tonight, and our two boys who are not here, you're welcome, and our families. Matt encourages me to take on any challenge and believes in all my crazy ideas. Our boys are my why I do what I do to help kids, but also why I drink a lot of coffee. Finally, I'm eager to collaborate with each of you to learn from your wisdom and to contribute to the continued success of our district. I look forward to the great work we'll accomplish together. Thank you again.
I will say this, this is 10-year. We've made a lot of moves. We've changed a lot of personnel around, but this personnel change is mind-blowing, exciting, and I think they're all the right moves with all the right people to all the right places. So for the next 2 years, while I sit on this board with these people, I am super excited to see how you guys all lead and how the changes affect you and how they affect our students. So congratulations, well-deserved, and we're super excited for you both. Yes. Okay, moving on. 8, Curriculum Instruction and Technology. 8.01, Caveman Academy, Virtual Excellence, CAVE. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, President Parks. We recognize that students find academic and social success best through in-person learning. However, we've become increasingly aware that a growing number of students thrive through alternative learning environments and specifically through online learning. The Caveman Academy of Virtual Excellence serves as a school choice option for families to maintain a connection with School City of Mishawaka while selecting a learning option that they feel best for their students. And so tonight I'm going to give a much sort of abbreviated presentation to the presentation that Mr. Ells and Mr. Turton provided to the board earlier in the school year. And just so the audience and public know, the board certainly has been made aware of the CAVE and what we want to do in this situation and had an opportunity to ask a lot of questions, a lot of great questions that we've helped to answer sort of behind the scenes as well. So when you're looking at this type of option to offer a virtual school, it really comes down to trying to meet the needs of the students. That's the why, so to speak. We want to meet the needs of all students. In the same way you try to meet the needs of exceptional learner students, students with special needs, with special programming. We have students that prefer, these target students prefer an online learning environment. So who could those students be? Some are previously withdrawn, and that's what the table on the screen shows you today. We have consistently had well over 60, I think this year is 63 students leave each year for the last several years. Sometimes out-of-district students prefer the online virtual model. Short or long-term alternative due to illness, due to family circumstances could be a reason students want to be part of this program. Or as I often say, you also have the other end of the spectrum, students that are accelerated and they're trying to get credits and trying to graduate early could also be a real need for students in this type of program. So that's sort of the why and who we're trying to target. The personnel and what we think will be different with us than other online virtual programs is that we look to support the individuals in a personal way. And so on the personnel side, and those on the screen are sort of very small job descriptions, we're certainly not expecting you to read, but the instruction will be provided by Ed Options. And Ed Options provides the instructional staff and the coursework that the students would take. However, where we want to additionally support the students is with a School City Mishawaka principal of the virtual program, a CAVE coach, a teacher, so to speak, that can make sure that the students are held accountable, and then also a counselor who can help guide the students through difficult circumstances and situations to also keep them on task. We believe that this personnel aspect is really the key difference that differentiates us from other virtual programming options. Next, we want to talk a little bit about the financial constraints. You know, as you are well aware, and folks in the room are also aware, when you lose 60 students, that is burdensome to the budget of School City of Mishawaka. So we have a progressive budget plan for how we look to grow the program, where it allows for greater student efficiencies with the staff, but we potentially at the beginning pay those personnel stipends for doing that work, and as we grow potentially up to 150 students, maybe look to migrate some of these folks from a stipend to a potential full-time position. And again, that's the administrator, the coach, and the counselor. And then next, the curriculum and instruction piece. We've already touched on this very briefly, but the Ed Options Academy provides all the curricular coursework that a school corporation needs. And in fact, many schools that are utilizing the virtual option are also utilizing Ed Options. It allows the students to have a flexible class time. It allows for live tutoring support available from them 24/7, the options for advanced placement that we talked about earlier, and then of course diploma track, Core 40, and academic honors diplomas as we have them currently. And then the final component we want to discuss really boils down to the accountability piece. And so on that end, we have a CAVE handbook that we want to make sure the students abide by. They have to abide by many of the same rules that they'd have to abide by if they were in school. And then success criteria that they must meet. If they're not logging in, they're not participating as they should be, that's where there's going to be an intervention with some of those individuals that we talked about earlier. And so with that, I think we're to the final slide. What we're looking for tonight is your approval for us to proceed forward with the Caveman Academy of Virtual Excellence. Certainly happy to entertain additional questions that the board may have.
So let's just cover one thing. So as the virtual school, they participate in athletics, extracurricular, go to dances, walk commencement, everything, correct?
Correct.
They don't lose out on any of the aspects of being a high school student.
They would have all those opportunities, assuming just as students in the real school, they're abiding by the rules appropriately. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And this is available grades 7 through 12.
Grades 7 through 12, correct. And that's why on this page here, you know, it sort of has John Young and Mishawaka High School. This is his own entity, but those are the students. If we were to say what grade levels we're currently serving, obviously that's where it's at, John Young High School.
Any other questions?
No, and just to be clear, we are doing this, or we want to look forward to doing this because our enrollment has been decreasing from year to year.
Well,
and some are going to other virtual schools. So by having our own virtual, we're keeping them in our...
This is true, yes. It certainly provides that opportunity, but the real why behind it boils down to that student learning aspect and providing students, all students, opportunities to meet their needs. But certainly the financial piece helps, yes.
Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 8.02, Fine Arts Presentation, Dr. Stockstell and Mr. Chamberlain.
Good evening, President Parks, Dr. Stevens, and members of the board. Our Fine Arts program is doing amazing things for our students, staff, and community, and it's my privilege today to introduce Mr. Caleb Chamberlain, our Fine Arts facilitator, to tell you more.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go through some highlights of this year, and it's an exciting presentation to put together because I got through, I think, 17 slides, and I was like, this isn't everything we've done, but it was fun to see, like, oh, that was this year? Seemed like a long time ago. But we've had a lot of good stuff, a lot of exciting things. I'm not going to touch too much on art because Mr. Sargent covered a lot of the Scholastic Art Awards success at the previous meeting. He may have mentioned this, but MHS students from the Art Honor Society and Fine Arts academic team took a field trip to the Newfields Art Museum in Indianapolis a couple months ago, which was awesome for those kids. Sponsored by Fine Arts Funds, and all of that artwork will be featured at the May Festival of the Fine Arts this Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. At the Cave, but also the whole main hallway is lined right now with all the art, which is just awesome stuff to see. So you can come out this Friday, get there early so you can peruse the art in the hallways. Did I do it? I did it. One more thing, I'm not sure if it's been mentioned at a board meeting, but we had an art donation of over $35,000 thanks to Teacher of the Year, Mr. Mike Buckman, who has kept in touch with a former artist and photographer and trombone player, Griffin Rosen, 2016 grad, texted Mr. Buckman and said, hey, I work for a media company called One World Sync. Basically, Griffin is the photographer for a company to put all of the professional pictures you see on websites that you take for granted of how do those pictures get there. One of his jobs is doing that, so these companies send all their equipment to this warehouse. They take pictures and they say, don't bother sending it back to us. I'm like, how can we get a hold of that more often? So thank you to Griffin, thank you to Mr. Buckman, thank you to One World Sync. They got high-end easels that you'd never really think to buy for schools, but we have them now. And pottery wheels and etching presses that are over $5,000 each, so that was awesome, and kilns. So a lot of things that we didn't want to turn down, and the pottery wheels we had were old and falling apart, so it was just a great experience for everybody. I'm going to keep cruising here. Elementary music, we had 2 retirees last year and got 2 new teachers, Miss Murphy, and Mrs. Custer. Miss Murphy, one of her things this year, she took some of her students from Liberty to a trip to see the South Bend Symphony, where they had a program on Latin American music. And Mrs. Custer, through the help of an MEF grant, got some new piano keyboards for her classroom so kids can work on those, which is awesome. They had either a Veterans Day program or a Christmas program, and their All-City Choir concert, you can see in the top right picture, is just an awesome experience of 100, 200 kids just singing their hearts out, not a care in the world, having a blast with music, and I love watching that. They did TV themes throughout the decades, so that was great. And this is kind of elementary music, kind of everything. We've got a new sound system in the Cave that we pieced together because we had a lot of nice in-house equipment of speakers and things that have been replaced in recent years. So I said, why are we spending thousands of dollars each year to hire sound companies for our 3 or 4 events when I think we can do that in-house for about a lot cheaper. So we've got new microphones and a few speakers to make that happen. So that was used for the elementary All-City Choir concert. It's used this Friday for Mayfest. We used some of the microphones at John Young for their musical, and we're gonna do the same thing for commencement. That's my big test, so I just jinxed myself. All right, so that will apply to a lot of stuff, so we're excited about that. The dance team, we started a John Young Middle School dance team, and they are practicing together with the high school, which is getting them, just like all the sports, if you don't have a middle school group, it's hard to get them started freshman year, so that's awesome for them. They hosted a winter dance clinic. They have a summer dance camp coming up soon, and they went from the Scholastic class and competition, meant for like smaller teams and schools, up to the AA and placed 11th at state. And as a fundraiser and a showcase, they hosted the 2nd annual Mishawaka Dance Showcase. Kind of combines John Young drama and MHS drama. Kat Masterson has been doing drama productions at John Young for 11 years now, and doing that in a gym-atorium is a tricky thing. You've obviously got a gym, but she's also got a stage that's twice as wide and bigger than the Mishawaka High School stage, strangely enough. So filling that with light is tricky, but we were able to do our best to provide her some lights. And we had a microphone donation, came out of nowhere from a parent, which is awesome. And that same parent helped us run the lights for the production of Totally Awesome 80s. And he also works for ABC 57 in the studio, which led to Kat and I going on ABC 57 in the morning and talking about her musical, which is great. For the high school, they had a fall play of Trap, a spring musical of Pippin, a spring cabaret. Our director, Sarah Beeson, is the drama director at St. Joe High School and Mishawaka High School, which sounds crazy. She put on 2 musicals at the same time. God bless her. And it helps us kind of combine with different props and things. She's able to share and get good resources, but also they put on a cabaret at the end of the year for the kids that are like, I need one more performance opportunity. So the St. Joe kids came over to the high school and got to perform with our kids. We had a $5,000 donation from an MHS alum who wanted to remain anonymous, but did it in honor of his former drama director. Help me out. Could somebody help me out? The director? I got this.
How many years ago?
Oh, man. Like 30, class of 86. I'm going to come up with it towards the end of this production because I know the guy's name. It was my dad's director as well. It's going to pop into my head and I'll just randomly say it. And then we started gathering sponsors through program ads, which is actually how we found that $5,000 donation. What's that?
Was it?
McSwirly. John McSwirly. Yeah. Mike Fisher. There you go.
Good job.
Thank you very much. The Color Guard had a growth in membership ran by Mrs. Caitlin Stutzman, who's doing a great job with the kids. I think she has a good relationship with all of them. They got bigger this year in Color Guard with the marching band and Winter Guard in their competitions in the winter season. They got a Martin's grant of $1,000, which is awesome, and they've been doing more competitions throughout the winter. The choir, all these music groups had a lot of ISMA success, but I don't want to focus on the word ISMA because I feel like I talk about it all the time. The choir room, thanks to the Mishawaka Education Foundation, got a brand new grand piano. The one that is in the classroom was just, I think it was up to 40 years old and just starting to get beyond repair and holding tunings. So Walter Piano was made in Elkhart, and Mr. Niederer, our accompanist, who was a choir director at Elkhart for, I think, 30-ish years, he went out and did all, I said, hey, here's your project, go research, what do you want? And we went to different factories and he played different pianos and he said, this is the one. Said, all right. So with MEF and another donor, we got a brand new piano, which is awesome. And Mrs. Such at the high school choir department, she got students applying for the first time, to our knowledge, for the Indiana All-State Choir. So Cadence Radabal was selected in the Indiana All-State Choir and got to perform with students around the state, which is awesome. And she's going to Ball State next year to pursue, I believe, music education. At least some type of music. Mrs. Ferran helped double the high school orchestra from the previous year, which was awesome. So that bottom right picture was their first day. And we ran out of music stands for Mayfest. I'm like, why is this number not right? Because the orchestra doubled in size, so we're making it work. They had the Euclid String Quartet, which is professors from IUSB, but also people who play in the South Bend Symphony Orchestra, got to come in and perform for the high school students. And Mrs. Ferran helped lead the high school and middle school orchestra to gold performances at their ISMA events. Mr. Roberts helped push me to get involved in the Indiana Bandmasters Association honor bands. So there is a Indiana All-Region Band, which is grades, I believe, 6 through 9. And we had 3 Mishawaka High School freshmen and 5 John Young Middle School students get that recognition and got to play in that band. And the Indiana All-District Band is grades 10 through 12. And we had 3 students apply and get chosen for that band, which is awesome. So we'll continue to do that in the future. The MHS Band, some highlights from then this year. If you look closely, you can see Mrs. Johnson playing the saxophone. Look at that. For the crazy idea I had of doing an alumni night for marching band. So that was a great success. I think we had about 40 or 50 people come out and got them some beautiful shirts to kind of match the new uniforms we have. And the girl on the bottom left, I think she graduated around 2002 or 3-ish. She got to keep her drum major uniform because they sold them briefly afterwards, and she was wearing it, which was beautiful. And then we got some pep band jerseys up in the top right corner to make sure we're all matching and looking stylish during the pep band season. That was well received. And the band, once again, won the ISMA All Music Award, which means they received gold ratings in all of the band ISMA activities throughout the year. So we're proud of that. So we get a giant banner that we don't have wall space to put it on, but that's okay. The John Young Middle School Band had the addition of an assistant director, Miss Flanagan, this year, who's straight out of Ball State and is just might as well be like a 10th year teacher. She's a great asset to our program and has been great with the kids and is also helping out with orchestra. They got ISMA Gold in multiple things. They held their spring concert at Bethel University, which we did a few years ago and went back. And Bethel is just a great partner in letting our kids come perform there on that big stage, big hall, gets them out of a gym, which is nice. And our goal next year is to have the 8th grade orchestra and 8th grade band perform in the spring at Bethel. And the choir is going to try to perform at Mishawaka High School. So we're trying to do our best to get performances out of gyms. Mr. Roberts had a creative idea that I loved. One of the pieces they were playing, called Alpha Dog, he contacted their composer, and she did a video call with the kids for 3 different classes, which was awesome. So they got to talk to the composer and learn about the piece, which I think is just a great activity for them and memorable. And then at their concert, they had a local trumpet professional player, Danny Lopez, who's also a brass technician at Quinlan and Fabish. He had him come in and solo over the top of one of their pieces. So having the kids hear somebody play at a higher level, which was a great experience, and the 7th graders were just yapping about it on their way out, which I loved. Mrs. Such, during advisory time, started an applied music class, so getting students of all abilities working together for music. They performed at the Winter Choir Concert, and they are performing 2 pieces at our Mayfest on Friday. So she's done a great job leading that. Irons grants we touched on briefly, but we got some, just before the calendar year started, we got some new display cases outside the high school auditorium. We had one, but I want a place to showcase pictures of all the kids in all the ensembles. Just so the kids have some pride of, there's me in the color guard, there's me in stage crew. So the goal is to keep filling that up next year as the ensembles start, or the groups start, et cetera. So we got a few things in there so far. A new stereo for the AP Music Theory test is kind of a strange thing and a strange request, but the AP Music Theory test is a 4-hour test that involves a lot of writing, a lot of listening, and you need high-quality audio, and because of test security, it is still given on a CD. So finding a CD player with high-quality audio is kind of a runaround nowadays. They still sell them, come to find out. So we're able to get that for her for future AP Music Theory tests, which is such a thrilling test to take. You should try it sometime. And new music stands and tuner caddies. Just today, I kept texting Mr. Roberts and calling him, going, "Hey, I'm coming over to get some more music stands from you." They're falling apart over the years. I was at Lowe's before this trying to get some bolts. How can we fix some things up? How can we get some new ones and not have to borrow from schools and not have what we call the sinkers? So that is very, very exciting. Thank you, Tom Irons and friends. I'm getting there, I swear. MHS Music Department Awards. We have the Carol B. Cecil Award, which is named after longtime band director Carol Cecil, and the John Long Award, which is named after longtime legendary choir director John Long, and the Jay Miller Award we just started because there wasn't one for orchestra. So Jay Miller was here as a orchestra director for I think like 25 years. He played trumpet in the South Bend Symphony and said, "I don't want to do that marching band thing." So he became an orchestra director and had the program in really good shape. So those are the 3 there along the bottom that all match now. And then one more that we felt deserved a plaque was the Music Department Award. One student each year, a senior, who we feel like gave the most to the entire department. We were able to backtrack those, I think, back to 2006-ish with all those names of people who have won that award and going forward. And those are all just inside the high school, inside the music wing. So when you go in, you see those up top. We moved our ISMA plaques out there as well. You're sick of hearing about the word mattress sale. Well, that's okay. It's such a weird, unique thing, but it raised almost $10,000. That was our goal. We didn't quite meet it, but some grandparents from Florida who couldn't order said, "We got you." So they gave us $240, and we made our way to $10,000 for all of fine arts across the board, which is awesome. What the heck is that guy doing up there? So that is Souza Santa Stevens, I believe is the word. This is just it was an embarrassing picture, but also a thank you for support from our admin from the top down, And each year we fill out an application for the NAM Award, the Best Communities for Music Education, which shows you got teachers in the right place, you got money in the right place, you got a lot of kids, you offer a lot of programs, and we got that recognition again this year. So it's kind of my wrap-up of thank you guys all for your support. And we did a lot, and that wasn't everything, but somehow the band still has 3 more performances before the year's over. So Mayfest, and then I accidentally scheduled Mayfest 3 days away from a parade. So we're prepping for that as well. Tomorrow we're doing Mayfest and then walking outside. Our police officer's going to block off the street so we can practice for the parade. And then coming back inside, more Mayfest, and then we got commencement. And then I have 3 days off. So we'll do it again. Thank you guys all very much. Any questions about anything? All right, thank you.
Doing an awesome job.
Very well done. 9, business and operations. 9.01, public hearing for additional appropriations of funds. Notice of public hearing was published in the local papers on May 2nd, 2024. School City of Mishawaka has determined that it is necessary to appropriate more St. Joe County money for the calendar year of 2024 than was fixed by the Board of School Trustees under the Indiana Code 6-1-1. So at this moment, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone who wishes to speak, come to the podium, state your name and your address. Don't rush it. Take your time. Okay? That public hearing is closed. 9.02, approval of the additional appropriations ordinance resolution number 2024-005. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. I'm just asking the board's approval to reappropriate funding in the referendum fund for money that needs to be spent that wasn't spent last year.
I was just going to ask that, Rachel, where the money is coming from? Or
Yeah,
where is it
it's
being
not new money, it's
renewed?
money that was allocated last year but was not spent, but wasn't considered when the budget was created because it was allocated, so it wasn't considered, and now it's free, so we want to use it for other purposes.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 9.03, recommendation to approve year-end appropriation transfer resolution, number 2024-004. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. This is the end of the year of 2023 calendar year where the funds were balanced, and I asked for the permission to do it in December, but now it's been done in April, and the funds were allocated to balance everything out, and I provided the report showing how it was all submitted through the different major accounts.
Is there a motion?
Move for
So
approval.
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.04, recommendation to approve rainy day resolution, number 2024-006. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. I'm just asking approval for the rainy day resolution of $700,000 into the operations to bring it back into the positive balance until the tax receipts are received in June, and then it will be transferred back in to refund the rainy day fund.
Move for approval.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.05, approval of the 2025 budget calendar. Mrs. Dutoy.
Thank you, President Parks. It's hard to believe we're thinking of 2025, but we start looking at the budget for next year. It'll start in June and July. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up as to when the detailed dates of when things would happen within the board procedures.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.06, approval of contract with Princess City Consultants, LLC for legal services. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, President Parks. School City of Mishawaka has utilized an outside human resources consultant for the past several years. Originally, that consultation was built into a relationship with our health insurance provider. As you know, that relationship has changed, and therefore those services have also changed. But the administration still identifies a need to secure a consultant to provide those resources and related services to the corporation. And pending your approval, that's exactly what tonight's contract will do. So happy to entertain additional questions the board may have, but if there are none, we're recommending approval of the contract with Princess City Consultants as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10, policy updates, there is nothing. 11 is superintendent's report and action items. Dr. Stevens?
Thank you, President Parks. A few items to discuss tonight, and first and foremost may not be a fun one, but I'd like to address the fact that the air conditioning and cooling is not working at LaSalle. And I've said in this room many times, when you take on the superintendency, you're responsible for the good, the bad, and the ugly that occurs on your watch. It's certainly fun to play the tuba for kids and do things of that nature, but when things happen that are less than ideal, that also is part of the job as a superintendent. So certainly want to apologize to the staff and the students with that current situation. However, we have known that the heating and cooling have been problematic at LaSalle for some time, which is why this board approved dollars from a general obligation bond to be spent on updating that system. And unfortunately, the work on upgrading that system is not quite complete. We're real close, but we're not there yet. And that's why the cooling is not working at this time. So again, certainly want to apologize to everybody impacted, but we want the community to know that we are aware of the issue and are working diligently to fix it. Next, on a little more fun note, I get to brag about some of the folks that I work with every day, assuming I can figure out how to open this box. How did that even happen anyway?
It's the smart ones that can't figure it out.
Oh, my God.
Oh, because it opens this way. I do that, just make sure you guys are paying attention. So, the Board of School Trustees, through the Indiana School Boards Association, they accumulate points by attending meetings, by attending workshops, more importantly, and by being on the legal counsel and things of this nature that board members are, and they accrue points through that amount of time, and the School Board Association then recognizes our school board as being with an exemplary governance award. So if you don't mind, give these 5 folks a round of applause for their fine work to that end. And we can put this over next to the other one that I think they've received in the past as well. But that's not something that every school board attains, so we certainly want to recognize the board for their fine work on that front. Next up, I want to talk just a little bit, and I know Mr. Johns is here. Yesterday, the Unified Champions event was held at John Young Middle School. I know we had a couple board members in attendance, and we certainly thank you for that. But that event provides opportunities for our exceptional learner students to compete in events throughout the morning. Big Perm made an appearance, and if you don't know, Big Perm doesn't have hair, but I'm not quite sure why his name is Big Perm. He's a great guy. Dean Huppert.
He had hair.
Did he? Dean Huppert was the MC of events, and of course the students all made positive memories throughout the day. So it was a very special thank you to our Exceptional Learners Department for promoting and hosting this special event. It was very well done, so thank you, Mr. Johns and company. Really appreciate that. And last is really a last piece of information, RoboFest. If you're a student or parent into the robotics scene, I encourage you to check out the first, I think we're going to try to do it every year, annual RoboFest. It's going to be held Saturday, June 1st from 10 to 2 in Ironworks Plaza. It's going to feature several SCM robotics teams, coaches, and associated vendors. So a special thank you to Mishawaka Parks Department for partnering with our robotics program to coordinate that event. And with that, that's going to conclude all of the informational items I have for you tonight, Board of Trustees. If there are no questions for me, Mrs. Parks, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, well, thank you for the information. 12 is communications. 12.01, public announcements. The last day of school for 2023-2024 school year is June 3rd. Go ahead. Hoot, hoot. The Mishawaka High School commencement will be held June 9th, 2024 at 2 p.m. in the cave. The next meeting of the School City of Mishawaka Board of School Trustees will be June 12th, 2024 at the Administration Center. And if there is nothing else to come before the board, we will see all of your shiny faces at some point before the end of the school year. But if we don't, have a wonderful summer. And thanks for coming. Meeting adjourned.